I don't believe it. Oh boy. And the game's over too. Right at the dying moments. Uh I don't believe it. It felt more like a win for Wycombe than it did for Wimbledon. At least, considering the last dying moments of the game, Wycombe scoring a penalty there. But if you were to have told me that AFC Wimbledon would have come away with a draw there, I would have been happy. I think AFC Wimbledon, honestly, they played their freaking heart out, man. This was probably one of the gutsiest performances. This is just an example of a blood and guts performance through and through from AFC Wimbledon. I mean, first 5 minutes of the game or so, they came out absolutely flying. They're pass, knocking it around, and the goal came from Ollie Palmer holding it up on the midfield, playing a first-time pass over to Osu on the overlap, and Osu takes a couple touches, he was being defended by Obita, but then Osu fakes going right, goes left, plays a cross down the six to Palmer. Palmer takes a really good first touch, completely dumbfounds Wycombe's back line as he was able to sneak it down the six, and Rodoni taps it in for his first goal out of two today. And then the rest of the half was just, I shouldn't say AFC Wimbledon sitting back per se, but, Wycombe definitely were pouring numbers forward, mainly pumping balls into the box. They weren't really attempting too many through balls. To be fair, AFC Wimbledon had good defensive shape throughout the half, so they didn't allow the likes of, Mehmeti, Vokes, and Hanton to make those, Hanlon, to make those runs in behind. They couldn't win the headers on the first 15 minutes or so. A lot of the times it was Wycombe winning the first balls with Vokes or, Hanlon winning the knockdowns. Ben Hennigan kind of having a bit of a hard time. I think Ben Hennigan did not have his best game today in terms of winning headers and in terms of just trying to beat out his defenders. And obviously, Akinfenwa, eventually, Wycombe just piled on the pressure. The second half, they got a few more through balls in. One instance notably where Paul Osu came up really high to press McCarthy on the hold-up, and then Woodyard was trying to slot into that space, and he did, but then he didn't. He was too central, and he allowed the through ball down the line to McCleary, who played a nice 6-yard cross down, and thankfully Zanev was able to beat it away in that instance. But there were a couple of balls being played in behind in that second half, and Wycombe with a couple of opportunities. There was one instance where there was a cross play to Akinfenwa, and thankfully he got underneath the ball and went over the bar. That was when it was 1-1, a couple minutes after the goal, in which was scored by Akinfenwa after he was able to shrug off Ben Hennigan. He was able to shrug off Ben Hennigan successfully with his left shoulder, and then he saw Nick Zanev kind of off his line and instinctually kind of chipped it over him with the outs. It was like a half chip, half shot towards goal with his laces, and he was able to place it over Zanev. Zanev has had a lot of trouble with those kinds of plays, those balls over the top of his head. And again, we see another one of those instances. So definitely not a goal you want to concede if you're Zanev. The two goals that AFC Wimbledon conceded really were preventable. The second goal definitely preventable in the sense that Paul Osu really did not need to bring Kai down, or Kai. And, a couple of bounces towards the top of the 18-yard box after a goal kick or something, or a punch from the keeper, definitely not something that Wimbledon should have allowed. And to be fair, Akinfenwa was, again, making his presence known, shrugging off his man defensively, and that's the reason why it bounced the first time, but then another bounce got let in. Paul Osu brought Kai down, and Ben Hennigan was right there. He could have maybe tried to poke it away or try to get a block of the shot or something. So desperation certainly there from Paul Osu. He's still young, he's still learning, still not as experienced as someone like Che Alexander, for example, or Henry Lawrence, of course, who came in to start today. And I think Henry Lawrence did all around okay on the defensive end, wasn't really that much of a factor on the offense, except for one play in particular where he found an overlap. He played Rodoni, and then he received the overlap again. That was in the first half, and then he tried to... he played it low and hard, actually, to McCormick. McCormick got a shot off the post. So I know I'm going all around, like first half, second half, first half. The second goal for AFC Wimbledon, in which You already saw me going crazy, right? Egle Kaja took a couple touches down the wing, was able to beat Tafazoli for physicality. Tafazoli was trying to shield it out, but then he got shrugged off by Kaja, and then Kaja played it back post to Rodoni to make it 2-1, 90 plus 2 minutes, and I thought that was it. I mean, I was ecstatic. Well, I did say, to be fair, after the goal, okay, it's not over yet. But then, of course, Paul Osu making that really drastic mistake in the dying moments to give away that penalty. Definitely shouldn't have brought him down. It was just a desperation move from Paul Osu. And in the end, I think a draw is the deserved result. I don't think either team played better than the other. I truly think it was a back-and-forth affair. That first half, Wycombe dominated possession a little bit. They didn't really make too many chances aside from one chance, clear-cut chance that they had with Mehmeti, where he faked the shot, went to his left, and completely dumbfounded Osu and Hennigan. As Hennigan went to ground, Osu overcommitted. And then Mehmeti tried to open his body up instead of taking it with his left. I think he could have tried to blast it far post with his left foot, Mehmeti, the 20-year-old Albanian. And Zana was able to beat it away, and the rebound was not put away by Vokes in that first half. Wycombe could have made it 1-0 there, but AFC Wimbledon they could have made it 1-1, but Mehmeti couldn't take the chance there. I think both teams, back and forth in that second half. I think, honestly, I'm really proud of AFC Wimbledon's performance. I think their defensive shape was good until maybe like the last 15 minutes. They kind of started to get a little frantic, a little panicky, a little bit desperate. I think the offense was great throughout the game. I think they were very clinical. They didn't have too many opportunities, but when they had the opportunities, they were very, very clinical. A couple of really good chances in the first half. Obviously, that one from McCormick, like I said, outside of the right foot off of that low cross from Henry Lawrence off the outside of the post, like I mentioned. And then a couple minutes before that, actually, Jack Rodoni received a pass, I think, from McCormick. It was McCormick that was dispossessed it, and then he played it over to Ollie Palmer, I think, and Ollie Palmer played I'm confusing players. Somebody played it to Rodoni. I don't remember who it was, and it was Ollie Palmer spinning out. It was a 2-on-1. So it was Asal that played him, yeah. Asal played Rodoni, and then it was a 2-on-1. Rodoni decided to take it himself instead of playing it to Ollie Palmer, making the run inside the 18. I think that would have been the better play. But to be fair, Jack Rodoni didn't want there could have been that opportunity where the defender could have stuck his foot out and stopped the play entirely. So Jack Rodoni, confident in his ability to take someone on 1v1, took it to his right foot and tried to blast it, deflect it off the defender, off the post. So two instances where AFC Wimbledon hit the post there. And then the second half, Luke McCormick was all over the fucking place. Defensively, he was charging back, helping out Osu in case Osu got beat, and making a couple of tackles, a couple sliding challenges to prevent crosses. And then on the offensive end, he was all over the place making runs. And I'm really happy with Luke. I think, man, the match today, Jack Rodoni getting on the score sheet twice. But Luke McCormick, I'd say, is easily a number 2 for me in terms of man of the match. He put a great shift in both offensive and defensive. Even though he was a cam, sometimes he played as a center defensive mid and, helping out on the offense. But it sucks, man. It really sucks to give away that goal in the last few minutes or so. Even though Wycombe did, it sucks, man, because I don't want to be impartial. I do think if you were to have a gun pointed to my head, I do think AFC Wimbledon should have had the win. I think, like I said, a draw is the deserved result, but I think AFC Wimbledon just edged out Wycombe in terms of overall performance, but those 2 goals were just preventable, man. Ben Hennigan getting shrugged off by Akinfenwa. To be fair, he's a beast. And Akinfenwa chipping Zanev, who was out of position. And then the second goal, Paul Osu bringing his men down. It sucks, man, but I'm a little bit more disappointed than I am happy. But considering that Wycombe were the better side, third place going into this, I'll take some solace in the fact that Wycombe are a generally good side. So it is what it is. I'm going to give credit to Wycombe. I mean, they put on the pressure throughout most of that game. They weren't as clinical as AFC Wimbledon when they did have the opportunities, which is why I'm saying that maybe AFC Wimbledon deserved to win if I were to have a gun pointed to my head and I were to choose a team. I think Wycombe, did enough on their day to put the pressure on and kind of shake up the rattle up the mentality of AFC Wimbledon in the last 15 minutes or so. They did well for 75 minutes or so, AFC Wimbledon, not the full 90. Sometimes that's all it takes to drop points. So, all right, it is that time again where I highlight the tweets, and we're not going to waste any time going into this one. We're going to try to make this video a little more concise. So, at AlexWoody348, forget that Wycombe are second going into this game. Really finding some form onwards and upwards, boys. I would have to agree. I think we've been finding some pretty good form as of late, aside from maybe the Fleetwood game, of course. We were a little bit spotty, a little bit inconsistent in that game, but that was mainly due to little, well, I shouldn't say little, some mistakes that led to preventable goals, notably the Ben Hennigan mistake that led to Fleetwood's first goal, and a little bit of spotty defending in that one, but I think we played well on the offensive side of things, and we played pretty well against Cheltenham. Of course, we looked a little spotty towards the end, and of course, preventable goals, that one from Hennigan against Fleetwood, and both goals today fairly preventable, from Zanev on the first one, from Osu on the second one. I think if we can brush up on the defense in the final moments, in the clutch, as well as these, preventable goals, we'll certainly get after it, because we've been improving on two areas that we've been lacking earlier this season: chance creation / clinicality of the finishing, and overall defensive shape, which has improved significantly over these last few games. But against Accrington, I think we defended pretty well. Against in this game today against Wycombe, we defended pretty well, except for the last 15-20 minutes or so, where we gave up a couple through balls in behind, and we didn't win out on some of the aerial battles. But I just think the last few games or so, notably that Cheltenham game, we've been doing a lot better on the offensive end. We've been creating more chances. We've been a little bit more dynamic. Ollie Palmer has been looking in his element. Dishing a couple of layoffs after holding the ball up. He was a monumental piece to that first goal on the hold up, laying it off to Osu, receiving it back from Osu, and laying it back off to Rodoni down the 6. Rodoni's been looking really good. He's been getting into good areas, and he's been taking his men on 1v1. I did give him some stick earlier in the season, notably against Rotherham, where he just was too afraid to take someone on. Now he's taking people on. Of course, at Brooklyn Dawn saying we were missing 3 of our 4 center backs and playing a team tied for points on the League One lead. We played fairly well considering that. I think, after kind of getting over that emotional roller coaster and that really tough, heartbreaking ending, I think we can come away with this knowing that a point against on-form Wycombe, we've been actually adapting pretty well, with Luke McCormick, Jack Rodoni helping out on the defensive end more often, and even someone like Paul Osu, who goes up a lot, he's actually not been caught out on the defensive end as frequently. Okay, at Jonathan Al, a draw away from home against a near top of the table team. Certainly not bad, but it hurts so much. Of course, it really does. And that same sentiment is shared by Ijaz Udine. I know that they're a good team, but it's still incredibly frustrating to throw away 2 additional points. It truly is. It truly is frustrating. And now we actually have a little bit of a negative view on this game from at WBLE Dawn, at WBLden, Wimbledon. And people told me to shut up after my criticism of the 4-3 win against Cheltenham, saying, oh, well, we still won. And that's exactly what AFC Robbo did. Rested on laurels and didn't learn again. I think that's a little harsh. I think we have learned from a few of our mistakes, although there's still one slightly reoccurring mistake that is still kind of been occurring, and that's just defensive lapses towards the final end, towards the dying moments, the moments in the clutch where we failed to hold on defensively. And it's a case where we played well for about 75 minutes of the game defensively. 15 minutes, gave away a few through balls throughout, mainly in the second half, really, and mainly in the last 10 minutes. So we just gotta find that form in the clutch, I think. And if we can hold on strong in the last 10 minutes when we're all tired, dead legs, hopefully we can hold on strong. I think maybe once we get those defenders, I think we're doing fairly well for lacking in the defensive numbers. I think we're doing fairly well. Once we get numbers back, Che Alexander, Will Nightingale, we can make a couple substitutions, and have a couple players come off for fresh legs and hold on to a lead. Honestly, I think we should look at this more positively. We're missing players, and we're finding form. We've been finding form as of late. Take on Pompey. Bring on Pompey. I'm more confident and more positive than I am negative, even though it was a heartbreaking loss. So come on, you Dons.